Hey y'all, welcome to Peyton Energetics. I'm Peyton, and today we are on part 3 of our video series about the Matrix. So as you know, the Matrix is one of the hot topics in the spiritual community right now. So in this 3-part video series, we have been diving into what exactly the Matrix is, how it works, and how, as lightworkers and starseeds, we can start to hack the Matrix program. Because as lightworkers and starseeds, we are here to break Earth out of the old Matrix system. So in today's video, we are on part 3 of our series, and we are talking about how to unplug yourself from the Matrix. So in our first couple videos, we talked a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the Matrix, because this is one of those concepts that we chat about a lot in the spiritual community, but a lot of people, myself included until fairly recently, didn't really have a great idea of what the Matrix actually is. How does it work? Where did it come from? Who put it in place? So in the past 2 videos, we have been covering all of those details. So make sure you catch the first 2 videos in the series so that you are all caught up on the details of what the Matrix actually is. But in case you missed those first 2 videos, what we are talking about when we reference the Matrix is a system of frequency suppression that surrounds planet Earth. So the Matrix is essentially, according to the guides, a computer program that creates a simulation or a hologram around planet Earth that keeps us at an artificially lowered frequency. So we are kept at a frequency that is lower than what the rest of the universe is operating at. So it's almost like we are on our very own radio station that no one else is listening to. And so what this system does is it creates a separation, and it kind of cuts us off from the rest of our galactic family, from our broader consciousness. We lose our memories, we go through the veil of amnesia, and we end up operating in a very restricted frequency. So the Matrix is kind of like operating with blinders on. Now, we talked a little bit about the history of the Matrix, who put it in place, why they put it in place in the earlier videos. So I'm not going to rehash that right now. But the important thing to know about the Matrix is that it is essentially a system of mirroring. So the way you can think of this, the Matrix operating, is that it reflects back to you your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. So what that means is that as we go about our daily life, we tend to be looking out at the outside world and reacting to it. That's just kind of how we operate as humans. But the Matrix then will reflect back to us whatever we are reacting to. So if we are doing what most people do, which is look around at everyone else, have our eyes glued to the TV, glued to our phones, taking in any information that's being cranked out, we tend to then react emotionally to whatever we are giving our attention to. And if you are looking around at the world right now, you are probably taking in a lot of stories that make you afraid. That is one of the great tricks of the Matrix, is to feed us stories that put us in fear. And the reason for that is fear is a very low frequency. And the more we can keep the human population at a very low frequency, the more we stay cut off from the rest of the world, rest of the universe. So the Matrix essentially is going to give you back what you send out. And again, as we talked about in the first 2 videos, that is why we talk all the time in the spiritual community about how important it is to keep our vibration and our frequency as high as possible. So when we are talking about the Matrix, if you are a light worker and a starseed, and you probably wouldn't be watching this if you weren't, one of the things that the guides have been talking a lot to us about recently is that as light workers and starseeds, we are here to break down the Matrix. The Matrix was a game that has been put in place and has been around planet Earth for almost 13,000 years, according to the guides, and the game is over. It is time for us to move on to ascend into 5D, where the rest of our galactic family is, and to break free of this program of frequency suppression once and for all. So one of the reasons that we are here, especially as starseeds, is to help break Earth out of this artificially lowered frequency. So that is what we talk about when we talk about hacking the matrix. How do we help to break out of this system that is holding us in an artificial low vibration? And as starseeds, we know that that is one of our main missions, is to help Earth ascend. And by doing that, we help Earth move beyond the confines of this bubble that we have been artificially placed in. So how then do we break out of the matrix? Now, there's a couple ways that starseeds are breaking out of or unplugging from the matrix. And the first way is that just by being a starseed here on Earth right now, you are helping break the matrix. Because what is a starseed? As we've talked about in so many videos, a starseed is someone who is incarnated on Earth right now, but who comes from a very highly evolved, very advanced galactic civilization that then volunteered to incarnate on Earth right now to help raise the frequency of the planet. So one of the ways that our galactic family devised for us to help break Earth out of this matrix game that has been trapping humanity for thousands and thousands of years is through the Starseed program. So the call went out for volunteers to come to Earth starting in the late 40s, and now it has really picked up steam, and millions and millions of starseeds are incarnating on Earth right now, doing so to bring the high frequency of their home star system to planet Earth. So just by being here as a starseed, just going about your daily life, you are helping break down the matrix. Because what starseeds do is they vibrate at a different frequency than the average human. Starseeds, of course, have a much higher frequency, much higher vibration than the average human population. So when starseeds incarnate on Earth, they start to bring a different frequency to the planet just by being here. And so as you go about your daily life as a starseed, you are holding a very high frequency and you are sending that into the planetary grid. As you do that, you make that frequency available to the entire collective. So as we see more and more starseeds incarnating on Earth, what happens? The frequency of the planet starts to raise. And according to the guides, what happens is once we reach a certain frequency on the planet, the matrix will turn off automatically. So one of the things that we are trying to do as starseeds is get our frequency as high as we can and hold it there as often as we can. Because as we do that, especially as starseeds and lightworkers grow in numbers, and we are well into the many, many millions at this point, we start to raise the frequency of the entire planet. We start to overcompensate for the reduced frequency of the average mass human population. So it doesn't even take a huge number of starseeds compared to the normal population to completely change the frequency of the planet. So that's one of the reasons that the Starseed program was put in place, was to hack the matrix from the inside. Because as we were talking about in the first video, one of the reasons that we haven't heard a whole lot from our galactic family, from the beings that we work with and channel about the details of the matrix, is because there is a law of non-interference in the galactic community that prohibits races from interfering with evolving star civilizations. And Earth, of course, is considered to be an evolving civilization. So benevolent races who recognize and honor this law of non-interference are limited in how much information they can share with us and what types of information they can share with us. So because of that, it was tricky for our galactic family to help Earth break out of this matrix enslavement without breaking the law of non-interference. So how do you do that? Well, one of the ways the galactic community came up with to help break humanity out of this cycle of enslavement that it has been in for almost 13,000 years is by using starseeds. Because if beings and souls volunteer to incarnate on Earth as a starseed, bringing their high vibrational frequency, they start to hack the matrix from the inside. And they can do that without violating the law of non-interference, because the being is actually incarnated on the planet. So the Starseed program was one of the ways that the galactic community came up with to start to break humanity out of the enslavement game of the Matrix. Because again, the Matrix has been manipulated by negative races to be a system of mind control. And we talk about that in the last video, so I won't go back over that. But because of that, the Matrix system has become a tool to enslave the human population. And so how do you then help Earth, if you are a galactic race, how do you help the humans break out of this without violating the non-interference protocol? And one of the ways you do that is by having members of your civilization agree to go be humans or pretend to be humans. So one of the ways that as starseeds, we are helping break down the matrix, as my guides like to say, hack the matrix, is just by being a starseed and being yourself. Because just by bringing your frequency to the planet, by taking this very hard soul assignment that we have all chosen, we are helping break down the matrix enslavement program for all of humanity. Now, there is a second way that we can, on an individual level, break down the matrix even more. And the way we do that is by using the matrix against itself. Because as we talk about, at its heart, the matrix is essentially a system that mirrors you. It mirrors you back to you. So what the matrix does is reflects back to you in terms of what you see and experience in your daily life. It is a reflection of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions. So how do you make the matrix work for you instead of against you? The way you do that is be in control of your signal. Because again, the matrix will give you back what you're thinking, feeling, and believing. So if you control those three things, the reflection you get back will be one much more to your liking. So one of the ways that we start to take back control over the matrix as light workers and starseeds is to be in control of the signal we are sending out, which is why we talk all the time in energy work and intuitive work about controlling your vibration, your frequency. It all comes down to that, because that is the signal that the matrix is going to mirror back to you. So how do you do that? Because most of us as normal humans, what we do is we rely on our physical senses, what we see, what we hear, what we can touch. And when we do that, what we tend to do is look around at the world around us, what other people are doing, what's happening to other people, the information we are being fed, and we respond to that. We believe what we are seeing. And so that is what happens when we are letting the matrix run us, because you are letting what you are taking in with your senses, which is being determined by other people, trigger your response. So most of us, we look around at what's going on in the world and we get angry, or we get scared, or we start to believe what we're hearing, that the world is a terrible place. There are all these horrible things going on. What's happening is we are believing stories of other people. We are responding to them, which means we are using our free will to believe what the matrix is giving us and to set our signal to the channel of fear. And that is how we get trapped by the matrix. So what the guides have been telling us lately is how important it is to be in charge of our signal. And the way you do that is we have to do something that's a little tricky. And that is we have to step back from what our senses are feeding us, which means taking our attention off of what other people are doing, taking our attention off of the stories that we are being filled with, especially the ones that are based in fear. And when you look around, a great way to know if you are in the matrix is to ask if the story that you are hearing or what you are seeing is putting you in fear. If it is, there is a good chance that you are looking at matrix programming. So what we want to do to take control back and become masters of the matrix is to be the one who sets our own signal. And we do that by focusing less on what is going on around us and more on what we want to create. So we have to then let our imagination be more powerful than what we are seeing around us. And that is really tricky to do. It is hard not to look around, believe what we are seeing, and respond emotionally to it. It's really a tricky process. So one of the ways that we can take back control over the matrix as light workers and starseeds is by focusing more on what we want to create, disregarding everything else, and letting that be the basis of our vibration. So when we are more focused on what we want to create in our life and less focused on what the peanut gallery around us is doing, we start to take control back over our signal. Again, another way to help yourself do this is doing your energy work. That's why we talk so much in energy work and spiritual practice about all of these powerful tools for healing. Because as you start to do your shadow work, you start to release your limiting beliefs. As you do that, you raise your vibration. When you start to do your physical healing work, you raise your vibration. When you start to rely on your imagination more than what you see around you, you start to raise your vibration. So everything that your spiritual teachers have been teaching you is all about helping you raise your vibration, because as you do that, you take control back over the signal that you are sending out. And again, the matrix is just going to mirror that signal back to you. So the only question is, are you going to use your free will to be the creator of that signal, in which case you determine what the matrix will give back to you as a reflection, or are you going to let the matrix choose for you? Either way, it's your free will, because you choose where you focus, and your focus tends to trigger your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings. And when you do that, that is what triggers the matrix to give you a reflection. So the more you are in control of your signal, the more you become the master of the matrix. So the important thing to know about the matrix is that it is going to give you back what you are sending out. So the more you think positively, the more the matrix is going to reflect positive things to you. The more you clean up your limiting beliefs and start to have more faith and confidence in your ability to create your world, the matrix is going to reflect that to you. The more you do your physical, mental, emotional healing, the more you raise your vibration and feel better, the more the matrix is going to reflect that to you. So the way to become the master of the matrix is to take back control over what you are putting out. And that all comes down to your frequency and your vibration. So let me know in the comments, what are your favorite tools for raising your vibration? There are so many great tools and modalities out there, and every step you take to raise your frequency, even a little bit, you will see that reflection from the matrix. It's just how the system works. So let me know in the comment box, what are your favorite tools? And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. I'll see you soon. Bye.